Oh,
Um,
nice.
but thank you all for being here. My name is Jacob Falkenberg. I'm the Communications and Member Services Director at Venture Portland. And for those of you that don't know, Venture Portland is a nonprofit organization that supports Portland's 50 neighborhood business districts with grants and technical assistance and marketing and trainings just like these. So thanks for being here. Today we're going to be talking about visual merchandising. The holidays are coming up and we're heading into a holiday season that is going to be like unlike any other that we've seen, thanks to the year that we've had. So we have a very special guest who is an expert in visual merchandising that will kind of walk us through some best practices, things to think about, and ways to engage your customers safely during the holiday season. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you do have a question, go ahead and just type it into the chat. We'll save some time at the end to answer those questions. Also, if you could keep yourself muted during the presentation, just so there's no background noise or other interruptions, that would be great. I also like to thank our sponsors today, Williams District and Cahan and Company. So we'll be sending out some information about them as well in a follow-up email. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker because we've got a lot of information to cover today, so we're just going to jump right into it. Linda Cahan of Cahan & Co., a visual merchandiser for the past 40 years and has quite an extensive background. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And thanks to Venture. You guys do an amazing job and it's only getting harder. So you're so needed. And thanks everybody for tuning in and taking some time out of your day. My job today is just to inspire you, give you some good ideas. Hopefully you'll walk away and get re-energized, because God knows we need to be re-energized right now. So essentially, visual merchandising, I mean, really, what sets apart one box full of stuff from another box filled with the same stuff? I mean, really, what sets you apart? Well, obviously your service, your daily prices, your sale prices, but what people remember, 80% of what people remember after walking a street or a shopping experience are the window displays, the overall ambiance, the actual displays, the whole visual presentation. People remember what they see. And during times of COVID, there is a tendency to just throw your hands up and go, who cares? Well, believe me, everyone cares. If someone has a bad experience with service at your store, they'll tell everybody. But if they said, oh, I went to the cutest place today, you have to go there, it's so cool. That's what you want people to say. That becomes part of your brand. And window displays really romance your merchandise and enhance the whole street. So, you could be doing great displays and everyone around you looks like crap, honestly. And, people will try to park in front of your store so they don't have to walk the neighborhood. But the more people in your neighborhood that do good window displays, do great windows, even just try, the more people will walk because they're looking for entertainment. I mean, most people have streamed almost everything at this point. The entertainment in the 1800s, in the 1700s, in the 1900s, up until TV and movies, was walking the streets and looking at window displays. That's how people were entertained. They, tip their hats at each other and they'd look at window displays. And you have the opportunity to not enter, I'm looking at the stupid sign here. You have the opportunity to entertain people. And when you entertain them, you make them happy. They used to say, oh, you've got, 12 seconds or whatever to attract someone's attention. But now our attention span has dropped so radically that it's actually less than a goldfish. And a goldfish's attention span is 8 seconds and you're already bored. So one way to attract attention is through movement. It's very simple. Another, bright colors, strong focal images, and good lighting. So I'm going to just put this on mute for a second, or I can't really do that. Maybe I can. This is the only display on a main street. That was a little sad. And this one, this one is way better, obviously. The more, the better. Okay, I've got to, I clicked on something and I don't know why, but now it's not moving. I apologize. I'm not sure. Maybe I have to move it here. Okay. Jacob, I don't know if you're, okay, maybe this will work now. Yes, sorry, new technology. This was at Cabela's. A flame in the window, obviously a fake flame, is movement, and it's terrific. And this one, while somewhat complicated, isn't terribly. You see there's a little fan, it's a polyester fabric, and 2 lights. I did this window display for Intel at CompUSA on 5th Avenue in New York. And that's a little train. I mean, it's really hard to do a very exciting display for a company that makes a product this large. So we had a train just going around and then hiding behind the boxes and coming out through the boxes. And people stopped on 5th Avenue to watch this train pretty much go in circles. We are fascinated by movement, and that's because we are animals. We are just different animals. And even the illusion of movement creates an interesting dynamic that we get excited about. So one very, very simple thing you can do is just use postbox displays, and just the tumbling of envelopes creates fun movement, and angles, which also create movement, and little explosions. I mean, it's a very simple thing that requires a huge amount of hot glue, but you can do it if you choose to. Movement is also created by anything from nature, other than potentially stones or blocks of, cement, which isn't really nature. Illusion of movement really can make a difference. And once again, can create angles. Wreaths can work. This is in historic Willamette District in West Lynn, and I was part of the committee to judge the best wreath. And this was my favorite at Ace Hardware because they really did a clever job. I mean, it's like piping and a clamp and protractors and all sorts of things. I mean, the bow is made up of, a tape measure. I mean, this was just clever. Unfortunately, it was so high up, I don't know how many people noticed it, but I loved it. I thought it was incredibly clever. Little nails are stuck around. Creating just a wreath that represents your product category, your brand, your image, can be very fun. This is for car and home loans. Shoes. I mean, any sculptural display is interesting using the actual product. That's what going to Goodwill is for, or any other thrift shop. Just glue the stuff together, spray paint or paint it all the same color, and you have sculpture. But wreaths don't have to be boring. They can be fun. This is from a photograph, from like an old-fashioned photograph from a long time ago in Soho in New York City. And this is a styrofoam wreath just with paper and long ribbon. I mean, it took a while from inside the store. It took a while to make, I'm sure, but start now and you could have it for, next Christmas. Or if you're pretty quick, you could get this done. When you're hanging a wreath, one very simple thing is hang it from 2 different areas, especially if the wreath has a focal area that you want to, look straight. If you do the ribbon and or fishing line like this, so it can move. So it goes through 2 loops. Then once you're, on the ground, you can move it like this because it will slide through the loops. And that way you don't have to worry about, do I move it a 1/4 of an inch to get this straight? This is a really simple technique for pretty much hanging anything. This is an oldie from anthropology. Use a sense of humor. Use things people don't expect. And always, always, when you can, add lights wherever possible. And we're in Portland. Put a bird on it. This was at a pop-up shop, and I thought it was a really clean, nice, simple display. But you can do some simple things as well that don't have to be overblown holiday, but just say, now red actually just says buy. So this says now's the time to buy. And whenever you use an odd number of pieces, it's far more dynamic than even ones. I mean, this is nice. This is better. Rework even numbers. If you only have even numbers of something on a display, rework it into odd ones. And always, if you can, overlap, because that makes things much more interesting as well. And whenever you can do an angled display, that creates visual movement and energy. So, perfect example. This is, once again, a very old photo, but I keep it because it works. But it creates a very strong angle. So you want to make sure your angles in your window lead the customer's eye to your front door and not away from it. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but quite honestly, it's pretty important. Lead them to your front door. So I taught at Parsons School of Design in New York City for 12 years and at the Art Institute in Portland for 8 years. And I would always tell my students, your displays are 5% inspiration, 95% perspiration. You've all heard it, but boy, does it make sense when you're talking about visual merchandising. So if you want an origami tree for 2022, you can start now. This is perspiration, but boy, people were just lined up to look at it. Or all these pencils, and I think it's at Harrods in London. I'm not sure. It's Harrods or Selfridges. I'm sorry. I didn't take the picture. My brother did and didn't bother to tell me what store it was from. But I just thought from my point of view as a person who has installed an inordinate number of displays, you got to be kidding. But it's fun. Now, if you want to do something that requires 0 perspiration and maybe 10 minutes, here you go. Repetitive images are sophisticated. People like them because they can read them. And it's like an easy read, especially when you add the cute factor. This one was on the other side of the door. This was at the old Cranes in Seattle. And this was actually labor intensive because everything has to be balanced. So the only way I look at this and think that it could possibly work is if there's a little bit of glue underneath each of those cubes. Otherwise, every time the doors opened, the wind would knock these over. But these create movement and energy. So the difference in time is enormous, but this adds a lot of excitement and this adds a sense of satisfaction. This also takes time, but it's fun and it's something you could do. You create a wire tree frame and then you put pretty much anything over it, any types of ribbons. This is just a weird one. I saw this in Soho in New York City, old mannequin legs with a tree on top. I don't even know what's in the tree. I mean, it could have been done better, but if you want something that works with your image that's a little bit more unusual, here you go. And why do you do this? And Paper Doll, by the way, did a great job with this one a while ago. Why do you do this? Because people will get the idea of how either cool or interesting or beautiful your merchandise is by your window. Your window tells your story. And with thousands of people, hopefully, driving by or walking by, probably more drivers than walkers, you have to make a quick statement. You have to say right away, this is who we are. This is who we think you are. This is why you would like our store. You don't always put what's new in your window. You put something interesting in your window, something that pops, something that tells your story. This wasn't in a window, this was inside a store, but a little do-it-yourself, but lighting up the inside sometimes can make things very interesting. Bergdorf's, these are Post-it notes. When you looked up close, you didn't really know what you were seeing, but when you stood on the other side of the street, it was a real wow moment. And Post-it notes works. Is it labor intensive? Yeah. Does it work? Absolutely. So this is, again, an old photo in Manhattan. I'm from New York originally. And, you know, chairs are the ultimate prop. They are, they make great shelves. You can do good repetitive things. You can make them funky. And for Christmas, put a bow on it. I mean, you know, it's right now, everything is so politically correct. Red is the color of the season, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But also, no one can be offended by this, and that's important today. This one has movement, strong color, strong focal point. It's a Gucci tie display on Fifth Avenue, and each one of those ties averaged $115 probably 20 years ago. So obviously they were using seconds or thirds or fourths from the factory since it was the Gucci store. But adding the movement makes a huge difference, and simplicity can really work. Again, an oldie but goodie. This is a case when you have huge windows, and what do you do with them? Let's say you're selling small merchandise and you want people to notice your windows from across the street. Bright colors, a movement, a large shape, coming down to detail and bringing the eye down again towards the front door. And the little Tinker toys are just like added delight for people who come close enough to look at it. It adds the detail that the window needs to be interesting. And this was the slide I have shown every single one of my students in 20 years, over 20 years. And this was on Columbus Avenue, New York City. And this is a bad example. It's a really good bad example. I was attracted to the window because of the color and because of the two aprons that lead the eye into the center of the window. But then it all falls apart. Everything is at the same size and value. And it was kind of like, what do we have? Yeah, everything. It's like a Woolworths window without the bizarre charm of Woolworths. It just falls apart because you don't actually focus on anything. This is a strong focal point. A kid's drawing blown up, and then I have absolutely no idea what that is on the pillow. It doesn't look good, and it looks like it needs a bag to pick it up. But other than that, I like the overall composition. And Forever Pets always did fabulous, fabulous holiday windows. You know, just fun, winter, inspiring, charming things. Cole Hardware. This was their obviously Valentine's Day, but we're going to throw that one in. This is one of my favorites, and I know Shawnette Corkle is in the audience. She's an excellent retail design consultant, and she's heard me say this more than a few times. But this heart is I think this is a wonder. If you look at it closely, it's just one piece of plywood, but by the way it's painted from a distance, it looks like two pieces. And it's like an S&M version of a heart. I mean, you're holding someone's broken heart together with jumper cables and chains and locks and whatever. It's fun. It's clever. Do it yourself is okay. I mean, Tilde has been the overall experts at this for ages. They never spent probably more than $50 per window, not including labor. And this just simple yarn around branches would work equally well for holiday using different color stories or maybe a metallic yarn or twine or ribbon. This is at a AAA store. And, the people in the store built it, and everybody who came in was entranced because they took the time and effort to say, hey, happy holidays. And is it perfect? No. Is it charming? Absolutely. And no one is looking for perfection. They're looking to see that you give a damn. And I know you do. And before you say, I don't have time, get someone else to do it if you don't have time. This is worth it. This is Haggis McBaggis a while ago. Again, charming. People appreciate that you are going out of your way to entertain them and to say, hey, happy holidays. This is one of our ways of giving you a good experience. For instance, the awe factor. Oh, isn't that cute? To say that we are living in stressful times would be the understatement of the century. And whenever you can do something that is cute, that is heart expanding, you give someone a moment of pleasure. And I can't begin to emphasize how important we need that now. Just that little moment of, oh my God, isn't that cute? This is Tilde, and she had a local artist do these cats, basically marker on foam core, cut out. Tilde has lots of small stuff, so they needed to do things that, took up window space. So they hung big foam core clouds, and they have the little cats, and everyone wanted to buy the cats. I mean, they are drawings. I don't know what you would do with this cat in your house, but they were really good. And of course, she gave credit to the artist who ended up making some money, getting some jobs from it, which was perfect. This was this was a Christmas window because the foam core cats were so successful. Debbie Hamada decided to keep going with that theme for a while and had these created. Not expensive. Yeah, the labor was, but the materials, the paint on the windows, foam core, not much. Another Christmas window from Tilde. Each of the little vignettes would have children and adults coming close to the window to see what was in the vignettes. It was charming. Here's one vignette. Truly charming. It reminds me of a child when I would go down Fifth Avenue with my grandmother and look at the Christmas windows. That was a yearly tradition. And, the creativity was always amazing. So, going into some window basics. Before I do that, please do something. Do something fun. Do something enchanting, something pretty, something cute, anything that makes people stop and go, oh, nice, thank you. So one of the things I always said to my students after they would show me an idea for a display, I go, great idea. How will you do this? How long will it take? What will it cost? What damage will it do to the window? Does it sell your image, your product, and your brand? And honestly, right now, the more lights you use, the more your store is going to stand out and your entire street is going to look so much more exciting. Lit windows at night make all the difference. And it makes the street worth walking. The stores here that have lights on, exciting. The ones not, they're dead. You don't want to be dead. You cannot use too many lights. Just this time of year. The rest of the time of year, it's a little on the tacky side. This time of year, go for it. Go for it. McMinnville does. It's charming. Lights make everything sparkle. We want sparkle right now. And even just doing something, simple lights in the window with a regular display will make your store sparkle. This is a basic, not a very exciting, eyewear display, but the little hanging things make it look like, snow, holiday, whatever. Gubanks did this years ago in Lake Oswego. And when you look up close, it's like, ew. But from a distance, it was really charming. It just was a big glowy heart. And now with angel lights, This is just, you can see it's, what do you call it? I can't hear the audience, so you can't help me, but you know what I'm
Chicken
talking about
wire.
with the wire. Just wear gloves when you do this because it could be painful. But now with angel lights, you can do much better lights on it. And I'll just show you angel lights in a minute. A Goodnight Room, which was at Bridgeport Village. Very simple entry into the store, but charming, very charming. Cole Hardware. This was their winter window that was right before their, S&M Heart Valentine's Day window. Just fun and different. Now, Decralite sells lights to retailers. They don't discount. Retailers are their customers, but they have commercial grade lighting, so you use it over and over and over. But if you find angel lights, use them, because then you can mask them out on a wire frame and do any shape you want and really get something pop from a distance. And don't, honestly, unless the cool look is your look, go for the warm ones. They are easier to look at. They don't hurt the eyes as much. So you always want to look and make sure you're getting warm, unless the cool is the look you're going for. And they very often can come like this. Now, when you have a window, I've told every retailer this that I've ever consulted for, find a way to put a grid above your window so you can hang stuff. So your windows don't always have to be built up, but can also come down. This is the Greenwich Hospital gift shop. And they were also able to merchandise behind it, which was nice. And if you notice, and I'm pointing to the screen as if I'm doing this in person, you have no idea what I'm pointing at. But when I go like this, now look on your right, add lights so that they shine on the face of your merchandise, not on the top. This is at Eileen Fisher. Just a piece of fabric gives you still light into your store, but you also have an opportunity to create a nice backdrop for a nice, piece of merchandise. This is an old Williams and Sonoma, but once again, the backdrop allows light in, but it also lets whatever in front really show up. And then they had a table on the back where they also merchandised. If you have an opportunity to add lighting or put in lighting, and please, if you do not have window lighting, this is the year. This is true. I mean, I know it costs money. It pays off. The lights go on the window wall as close to the glass as physically possible, so that you shoot the face of your I can't say it enough or do enough really bad illustrations. You shoot the face of your merchandise, not the top. So I have a few questionable displays. This apparently won an award in Budapest in 2012, and I'm going for what? Now, without those hanging there, this would actually be a very charming window. But apparently those must have come in and they were new, and the retailer said, well, I really want to show that we got these. Once you do a themed window and you put time and energy into a themed window, don't screw it up. Don't add stuff. If you have to, change the merchandise, which should be done once a week anyway. Change out the merchandise so it doesn't fade, so that it feels fresh, and then you'll clean at the same time. I saw this in the dolls, and my first thought was, wow, this is either the strangest thing I've ever seen or one of the most creative, or both. And then I looked down and I thought, oh no, it's just weird. It's just really, really weird. This is why you want to go into your windows every week, preferably every day, and just make sure you don't have dead critters hanging around, or for that matter, live ones. And this was taken by my friend who lives in Bali, and this was at a store in Jakarta. It was like, oh, fun. What a great perch. So I'm going to quickly go into color. And the reason I'm going to talk about color is I really want to inspire you to think about using color in your stores and in your life for that matter. But color really does influence us on all levels of our beings, and it sells. Warm colors pop, cool, oh, here's a pop, and cool colors recede. And they both work, but in windows, warm colors work best. White is as virginal and uncomplicated as you can get, and without contrast, it doesn't work at all, but it does work very well when it's clean and with contrast. It's a fabulous blank canvas. When dirty, not so much. It actually visually degrades the perceived value of all your merchandise and of your brand. Then you just look sad. So white stores have to be clean and repainted or just cleaned often. I mean, you just can't come in, see a stain, and go, I'll take care of that. No, you take care of it right away. It really brings down the perceived value of your entire brand and image. So I'm going to go quickly. One of the reasons that red is such an important color for a holiday is it is life force, energy, heat, power, excitement. It really is the color that inspires people to get excited about things, and it's the problem is too much is going to cause irritability and tension. Another reason red is good for winter is red is a color that vibrates at a different frequency than any other color. It vibrates far more quickly, and as a result, it emits heat. So you are actually physically warmer wearing red in the summer, and warmer wearing red in the summer as well. Oh, excuse me. I did say wearing red in the winter, and then wearing red in the summer. Obviously, it's going to make you hotter. I'm excited. I'm trying to get through this quickly, though. Red inspires people to eat more and buy more and do it all far more quickly. So when McDonald's first opened their first unit in the Great Lakes area, they knew nothing about having people online and keeping them, happy while they're online. And the lines were long. And pretty soon, rival gang members would see each other online. And in one case, someone got shot, and it got the nickname of McDeath. So McDonald's immediately realized that maybe doing their entire store in red to, encourage sales and get people to eat more and eat more quickly wasn't a great idea. So they moved into pastels, and they kept the red at the points of purchase, which is where it really needs to be. A little red goes a long way. Now, given what I've told you about red, I mean, this is an excellent display of knives. Whenever you have small items, you do want to show them geometrically. But given that this is a knife display and red creates irritability and tension, maybe not the best background for knives, just saying. So pink, which is just red toned down, heals and opens the heart. It's warm and fuzzy. It sells more, creates feelings of well-being, lowers blood pressure. Hot pink really is the color of sexy. It's a younger color. Victoria's Secret may have overused it in the past. Coach, when they wanted to rebrand and tell people these are not your mother's handbags anymore, they did hot pink windows throughout all their stores, and they started attracting a younger audience. Orange, least favorite personal color in the world, but it is the universal color of affordability. It's also very social, cheerful, vibrant, and creative. And it is the color most associated with affordability and creativity. It is the color most preferred by creative people and trendsetters. Now, tone it down and you have terracotta, which is a perfect warm neutral. Bright colors say affordable, exciting. The minute you mute a color, you attract a bit more sophisticated, potentially wealthier clientele. It doesn't mean they're not attracted to the brights. It's all in how the brights are used. You can find terracotta even in wood tones. This is probably the best billiard shop, the best looking billiard shop I've ever been in my life in Hillsborough. I was so impressed, and I had to give a seminar to the Billiards Association. I'd never been in a billiard store before, and this one made me want to take it up as a hobby. Yellow, it's a color of cheerfulness and optimism and hope and joy, and it's the first color that the retina of our eye sees. It says stop and think, and it creates serotonin in the brain. It makes me want to paint everything in my life yellow right now. It makes us feel happier. It also, in a window, will pop as a warm color, and you notice the blues recede and the yellows pop. People will focus better in yellow surroundings. Fabulous color for an office, as long as it's a yellow that you can live with comfortably. And because it improves mental focus and clarity, it's why it was used and has been used over the many, many years as the color of yellow legal pads. If you want to remember what you're writing, write it on a yellow legal pad. Blue and green are the two most favorite colors in the world. They really, blue especially, communication, blue only actually, communication, trust, authority. It's used by so many major corporations. It truly is the color of communications. It's an excellent color for signage, especially when you want people to see the sign, but you don't want the sign to be more important than your merchandise. JP General used this blue, they're in Multnomah Village, as their prime color spot. And at first I was like, whoa. And I was like, wow, because it made me happy. And you don't think of blue as a happy color, but this royal blue just has a joy to it. Light blues are cooling, healing, soft, imaginative, non-focused, expansive, but they have no heart energy. While they expand space, and if you have a very low ceiling, I do suggest you paint it a very pale blue, and it will lift the ceiling. You need to have a balance of warmths with it. And blue is never an ideal color to sell food because, quite honestly, the only blue is blueberries, those weird pops, or mold. So we know this blue on bread is not a blueberry. Yeah. Blue doesn't inspire people to eat or drink more. Turquoise really says tropical. It tends to be a more affordable type of blue. I'm not sure why, but it's in the favorite color category. Navy blue is all about wealth, power, authority, intuition. Green ties with blue for the most loved color in the world, and that's because without it, without trees, without water, without the reflected color in the air, we wouldn't be here. Green is all about new beginnings. It is healthy and fresh and environmentally aware, calming, healing, soothing. People will relax, breathe, people will browse longer in a green environment. Growth, bright growth, dark wealth, lime green teen. And these guys who used to have real guests who came to their green room would have a green room or have green elements in the room, because when you're in a green space, 25 minutes feels like 5 minutes. And in a red space, 5 minutes feels like 25 minutes. So a little green in a store does work. Purple is really the color still of the divine. It has religious and spiritual connotations. It's said that someone who is contemplating stealing something may wait 11 seconds longer if they're in a purple environment. Purple is peaceful, and it is the color of imagination, intuition, and insight. And these are, wow, I can't even see what they are. This is your basic color wheel. These are analogous colors, colors that run together, always work together exceptionally well in the display. It's a soothing, comfortable feeling. These are monochromatic colors, colors within the same spectrum, and the same basic color work very well. I'm going to quickly go more. Brown is what you think: safe, solid, honest, reliable, grounded. UPS kind of owns it. Brown is usually used because it's in all wood tones. And wood, really real wood, makes everything feel better, more solid, more real, more trusted. The perception is the lighter the wood, the less expensive the merchandise. And if you imagine buying a diamond ring out of a case line with gym flooring, yeah, a little bit darker, the ring feels like what it costs. Taupe and beige, sand, tan are exactly what they seem. They're unemotional, calm, warm, neutral, not exciting, but actually excellent balance neutrals. But don't do the whole store like that. Add color, add texture, add some contrast. And gray, depending on how it is used, it's really dull. And it kills merchandise that has no heart energy. And this is the kind of gray store I'm talking about. But I've seen it used beautifully. And honestly, this was a store I co-designed with an architect in Venezuela. And we used the gray because of all the wood tones and the orange and the colors in the ties, and actually in the front of the store, colorful merchandise. And we knew that the wood tone would balance the gray very nicely. Gray in nature is always fabulous, and in tiles can work beautifully as well. Black, I mean, it's all these things and more. I mean, I always think of Audrey Hepburn, who I always wished I looked like. Yeah, that's one of those little fruitless dreams. Pink will open the heart. Black actually shuts it down and protects it. But it can be excellent for marketing luxury products. The one thing you want to be careful of is if you paint your ceiling black to get rid of, an ugly ceiling, you will need 3 times the amount of light to light the floor that you would need otherwise if it were a white ceiling, because there's no bounce back, no reflection. So I'm going to quickly go through this. Bottom line, if you are trying to come up with a color theme for your store, for your home, for your body, for anything, look at Mother Nature. Mother Nature makes absolutely no mistakes. And you look at this and you go, yeah, I'm not doing that. And you look at the colors that I pulled out, but then you look at proportion. So you can take any kind of photograph from anywhere that appeals to you, where the colors appeal to you, and then you pull out the proportionate, you pull out the colors and you put them in a proportion that makes sense for you, for your store, for your home. And this one is just cute. So my encouragement is enjoy mixing colors, use color. You know what it looks like. You know what it feels like. Don't always play it safe. Have some fun. And use color spotting. This is a very old photo on Fifth Avenue. The purpose of that tomato is to tie the shoes together. Colors tie merchandise together and draw the eye around a composition. I mean, sometimes that's their only purpose. And in this case, they are overused because it was like, well, if I have one here, I want one here, and I need one here. And then all of a sudden they become a little more important than the clocks. This is a perfect use. Just add some life to a neutral composition. And the pieces in the front draw the eye to the back wall color so that your eyes are drawn into the store by the colors in the front. So, a little bit of a marathon there. Inside COVID shopping, very quickly, life has changed. There's a process of elimination. If you have furniture, people are not really supposed to sit in your store anymore, and no more testers. This is a big, no kidding. But please have plexi screens. And I see signs like this all over. This is from someone who thought, oh, this is only going to be for 2 weeks. It's not going to take long. And this is someone who says, well, maybe it'll be a little bit longer. Well, guess what? This has been going on for 32 weeks and counting. It's time to look professional, folks. I mean, don't overwrite things. No one is going to stop here unless they're like bored to death to read a Walmart sign. Keep it simple, keep it clean, get some good signs. I mean, so you throw them out. We pray that you throw them out sooner than later, and they are a total waste of money. But in the meantime, they are there to keep you and your customers safe. I'm sorry, some of these I just absolutely love. Use a sense of humor if you dare. This one I always feel like it makes sense when I go into a bank with a mask on. This one is an earworm. No mask on your face, you big disgrace, spreading your germs all over the place. Moving on, it's done in Europe all the time. For people who are not going into stores, the signs don't have to be large. I just put them on this size so I could actually write something on them. Let people know how to buy your merchandise without going into your store. Let them know. Give them something to text, to write. JP General opened in Multnomah Village in October this past year. Poor bastards, except for the fact that they really are smart and talented. And this was a Christmas window from last year. J is J and P is Peter. Peter used to be the director of all visuals for Tiffany's and for Henry Bendel. They're both incredibly talented people. And this is what the store looks like now. They have survived. Didn't have like a lot of base of customer to rely on. I mean, they have survived, they have persevered, and I'm really glad. And this is, you know, they set up a really elegant little pedestal. But one of the things that makes their store work so well is they have areas to shop where people can naturally separate. And this is back in the winter, where they can move to different areas. And if you can do that, if you can create separate areas throughout your store that will naturally separate people, then people will feel safer and more comfortable. See how they brought the blue back up onto the back room. Sorry, I had to just interrupt myself and show you that. So that brings the color spot from the front into the back room. Anyway, bottom line, make it easy for people to separate. And this is on their Instagram, and they have a huge presence on Instagram. They really have done a nice job. And shop our Instagram or our windows, 20% off. Give people a reason to keep shopping. And they're willing to do porch drop or pick up. And each of these are Instagram posts. And they're smart, and they just keep doing it. I mean, this is, you know, movement creates energy. And by the way, the light in these little post boxes makes all the difference, adds warmth and energy. And you can see if you look close, because no one's bending down on the street to do this except a little kid. It's just like a piece of paper, like parchment paper is the best. That you would cook with, and you put a bulb behind it, preferably an LED that doesn't emit heat, or a warm fluorescent that doesn't emit heat. And take time to relax. Please, whoops, where'd that go? Take time to relax. And that poor cat eventually passed away. It was the most famous cat in Istanbul. And now there is a statue of that cat where it used to hang out in Istanbul. And the one thing you can do every day, every night actually, before you go to bed, is find 10 things to be grateful for. This is not a religion. This is a way of seeing life so that every day 10 things come into your life. And you might even not, at the time, you go, this day is horrible. But if you're in bed and you're at home and you have a roof over your head and you ate, you're still better off than over 80% of the world. So start finding things to be grateful for. And thank you so much. I had this time, we started 5 minutes late, so I had a time to leave 10 minutes for a Q&A, and I'm still Q&A. So
Thank you, Linda. That's so much great information. Really a lot of really important things to think about as we go into the holiday season, and it's more important than ever to engage customers and make people feel comfortable in a space, because it's already, they're already uncomfortable given that they have to wear a mask and they have to be, keep distance from other people. But if they're in a space that is feeling hostile or uncomfortable based on its design, then you've got two strikes counted against you. So really interesting stuff, thinking about shopper psychology and how that plays into people's spending habits, the amount of time they spend in a space. Does anybody have any questions for Linda? Go ahead, type them into the chat. We've just got a couple more minutes left. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but we can totally answer a question or two, and then we'll follow up with some more information afterwards.
And this is my first chance to see who's here. And it's like, hi, Louise. I'm so glad you joined in. Thank you. And
Some
Amy
familiar
Meadows,
faces.
what a pleasure. I'm just seeing people that, I'm finally going through names because I wasn't able to do this before. Anything coming up?
Oh, just thank yous, great ideas, applause from Vancouver, Chicago. Here's a question from Andrea. Any tips for window displays that don't block the light? So I'm guessing natural light coming in during the day. You want to have as much of that as you can. Is there any way they can have both?
Yes. Well, that was why I showed semi-sheer fabric. So you can just do a strip of fabric as wide or narrow as you want, but that acts as a soft backdrop and creates a panel of color or just a soft white, or what, I would choose the fabric based on what merchandise you're showing, quite honestly. But that will let light come through, and it gives you a focal point in the window, and still, so you get both things at once. It's the simplest way to do it.
Great. That makes a ton of sense. And I just want to remind people, these are, a ton of work, but when you do your windows and your floor displays, this is great fodder for Instagram, Facebook, any sort of social media. So once you do it, brag about it, use it as a marketing tool for the entire season. So Deborah says, I need to hire a window designer. Any ideas on where to look?
That's a really good question, because I used to have tons of students. Can you unmute Shawnette Corkle?
Yeah, let me see here.
I just unmuted myself.
Hey, Shawnette.
I don't look as good as everybody does for video today, so I'm keeping that off.
No worries.
Shawnette, do you know of, I don't know if you're physically doing displays now or doing more store renovation design work, but if you do it, great.
I have a couple names that I could share with you, Deborah, that are doing just that, and they're focused on windows. They're kind of ex-students. They weren't yours, Linda, but somebody else connected us, and they live in Portland. And I'd love to. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm still kind of new to Zoom and chat.
Shawnette, you could email me and I'll include it in the follow-up email.
Yep.
That's great, because then it'll go to everybody. That's
I was thinking, because there's a lady that I know, Ulika Pankratz, and then Bonnie Johnson, who's based in Lake Oswego. But I'll share the name with you, Jacob, and I'll let them know that I shared their names so that they can be ready for people to reach out to them. And I'd love to, they're both so talented. So
that's terrific. I knew you'd know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shawnette.
Good to see you. Thank you. I'd love today.
Thanks.
Lynn, do you have time for one more question?
I have all day.
Barb asks, do you always include product in the window rather than an interesting display and simply allowing people to see past and into the store. So they're debating about fading product in the window.
Yeah, it's a great question. And for instance, at Tilday for Christmas, they didn't they were very often they didn't show product. Very often stores in New York City don't show product. They create a viewing experience. So I think that if you can create an experience in your window that you feel represents what you do and is entertaining, I think go for it. You're right. Fading is a pain. You've paid good money for that merchandise. And unless you switch it out, depending if what your exposure is, you'd have to switch it out daily to keep it from fading. So absolutely. I mean, and then in that case, the more you change your windows or add a different element so that the windows people have a reason to keep looking. Otherwise, they become wallpaper. So yeah, I would say absolutely do something interesting, fun, whatever, challenging even.
Thanks, Linda. So I think that's it for our time today, but I want to thank our special guest, Linda Cahan, for spending some time and sharing her knowledge with us. And as I said, I'll follow up via email with some more resources and information. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, I'll put my contact information and Linda's contact information in the email as well. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful holiday season. Best of luck to everyone. Stay safe. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jacob.